Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 19 of Through the Mists. We were just pondering the benefits and problems with the one D&D playtest. If you haven't checked it out, head over to D&D Beyond has it? Is that correct? Check that out. I'm curious what everyone thinks. But anyway, how's everyone doing today?
Good.
Doing great.
Nice. Mick, you doing well?
Oh yeah,
Excellent.
doing pretty well.
Nice. All
Looking
right.
to eradicate some nasty creatures. Let's go.
Sounds like a plan. So who's going to do the recap this week? Who wants to
Not me.
step up with the Lyra, she
No. That's the nose goes. That's the nose goes. Like, not me.
All right, I'll take care of it. So, last week, you were all trying to essentially figure out what was going on, how Dizzy had been charged with the murder they didn't commit, and yet there were witnesses that saw Dizzy there and doing this crime. However, you had talked with a doppelganger who is one of the magistrates of the city, and they had said that there is potential that these creatures known as jackalwares had been released upon the world once again. And so trying to find out more information about that, you had headed from Helvetica's church / classroom / house and made your way across the city to the university, which has a library. In the library, you had met some folk who were very interested in talking with you so that they could work on their dissertations. But otherwise, they had shown you through a section of books that had given you some information. However, you kind of focused on a clue that or some information that the original key or item that had locked away the jackalwares in a kind of a constructed demi-plane prison of sorts was at least partially created by the church here in Paridon. Now, this was some time ago, and so you get the feeling that those people aren't here, but maybe the temple in the area would have some more information. And that's kind of where we left things. So as we pick up, you're standing inside the museum. Sorry, you had stopped by the museum as well. And the fellow in the museum had shown you a painting, I believe, right before we ended. And the painting was of a group of heroes fighting back the jackalwares, which were in this large wave of carnage that was coming towards them. What do you do?
I muse about how we may end up being those warriors, this ragtag team that we have. And wonder where we get more information on that. Is it going to be the church? Is it going to be the museum? I don't know. Lilith raises her eyebrow and nods knowingly, but doesn't really know.
Well, first things first. We can't be that ragtag group of adventurers fighting back the jackalwares, because it's already happened and history never repeats itself. That's why it's
Ever.
history happened in the past, would never happen again. Can't be history if it happens again in the present now, can it? Ha! That's time rules. That's how time law works.
The fellow that's kind of holding the painting on its shelf is kind of like arcing his eyebrow at you and looks at the rest of you. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm gonna take a look around and just see if there's anything that might lead us in the right direction.
Gotcha. Go ahead and make a perception check. being slow. You look
Ouch.
around, and there's a lot of paint fumes and kind of like that turpentine paint thinner fumes, and it's kind of getting to your head, getting a little bit of a like that dull throbbing ache right behind your eyes. And so you look around, you just kind of notice the people that are cleaning the paintings, touching up different pieces of art, fixing some pottery that has been cracked. You don't see anything as far as that might be a clue. Lyra, what are you doing?
Well, Lyra's questioning her own sanity at the moment.
Okay.
Which is never fun for her. Makes her irritable, irrational. She doesn't like that. So she, when Twiggy kind of goes, like, oh, of course history never repeats itself, she just kind of like looks at him and rolls her eyes. um, I know she's gonna ask the guy who's holding the painting, like, do you know like when this happened? Like when did this happen? What is this? I mean, obviously it's a picture of the adventurers fighting back the Jackawares, but
Yeah, I believe
words are hard.
He says, I don't quite recall the exact date, but I believe it was something going on 60 years ago? Maybe not quite that long ago.
Interesting. Are there more pictures like this that depict this event?
There are some that are a little bit more focused on the heroes, but like them in their heroic stances, but not so much like this. The final face-off between the horde of the creatures versus them.
Could we see those photos or pictures? I guess.
What's a photo?
What's a photo?
Um,
Can we see those paintings?
Yes, I believe. He slides the shelf back and starts looking around. I believe we'll have to go over here, and he points out another large area that has similar shelves like that. He begins going through them, and he does pull out another painting that is not quite as detailed. It looks like it was maybe begun and came close to being finished, but maybe the artist didn't quite get a chance to finish it or something. The detail just isn't quite as much, but you do see the same heroes. And of course, I didn't mark down what those heroes were. I know there was a dwarf. There was a dwarf cleric. Does anyone else remember?
15 pixies, all in a trench coat.
Twiggy's over there like drawing pixies on it.
I remember there being a tiefling.
Yeah,
Was
I was
there a
like, I remember there
tiefling?
being a
What they
tiefling.
were.
Yeah, I think there was
Okay.
a tiefling.
So yeah, there were, for the most part, I believe there was like maybe a human, but they were definitely not the standard fare that you have seen in Paridon so far.
So, like them, they are outsiders.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Lyra kind of like takes a look, and she just looks to the rest of the group and kind of nods, like, "I'm good here." Like, that's like what her nod says. Like, I'm good. I'm good.
Why don't you make a perception check for me?
Okay.
Is anyone else looking at the painting with Lyra?
Yes.
You can all make
I
a
like art.
group.
I'll look too.
Go ahead and make a group perception check.
Okay.
Perceiving.
Nice.
I wish
nice.
the advantage, like, mechanic on D&D Beyond pushed to roll 20. But it
That would be
doesn't.
nice. That would be
know.
nice.
Not
You-
persuasion, perception.
You can always tell me what it is too, if it's not pushing
Yeah.
through.
There we go.
Okay, so we've got nice. So as you're all looking at it, you do notice that the cleric, the dwarf cleric woman, is holding a jawbone that just seems out of place, and it's kind of elongated as opposed to like a humanoid jawbone is fairly stunted compared to an animal jawbone that's of a skull size that's similar. So this is kind of a longer and it looks like it's only part, so like it fractured in the chin, So she's holding half of a jawbone that looks animalistic.
Well, since we already know that there's a magical jawbone that the church had something to do with, Lilith is going to take note of that and ask our little friend that's holding the pictures or the paintings if they know other people that remember this incident or know any more the people that know the stories and also know where that jawbone is.
Oh, I don't think anyone was alive back then. Um, there's a lot of books in the library over at the university that, some are, let's call them fictional history about the heroes and their fight against, and then some are more in the historical, but maybe not as elaborate in their descriptions of what happened.
I wonder, do you have an assistant that you could maybe send to the library on our behalf and gather all of the information and kind of read through it to give us a report if we were to come back at a point?
Uh, I believe that could happen. It would require a small donation to the museum.
Seems like something we could do, right, guys? Also, our companion here is able to make your gardens grow for a brief period of time very well. So what if we did that to one of your gardens and also donated a little bit?
Oh, that would
Would
be
that help you
wonderful.
out?
Absolutely.
That would be amazing.
How what is it, a special kind of fertilizer? What?
Yeah, we'll say so. Right, Twiggy?
What? I've already donated. Like, look, I fixed the unicorn. Unicorn. And look, it's got a beautiful mustache. Beautiful. Just like unicorns where I come from. Beautiful mustaches. Every single last
Twiggy,
one of them.
Huh.
you could fix a garden if people were to help us out, right?
I mean, I could. I mean, there's protocols, but I suppose this time around I could feel generous.
I think they would really appreciate it. And you know what? They would be beholding to you afterward. Beholden. And I think that I think you might like that.
Beholden. Yes.
The fellow holding the painting, slides it back into its shelf, and he's looking at all of you and fairly dubious as far as this conversation goes. But he does look around, and you see a younger girl that is working on a painting of. It kind of reminds you actually of the landscape that you saw when you came here through the mists that is no longer visible once you exited the mists, like that kind of rolling hills with the farms and the orchards and all that. And he walks over to her and quietly talks to her. It's not whispered, but it sounds like he's not trying to bother the other restoration artists. So I'm going to ask you to put this piece away for now. You can work on it tomorrow. I have a special project for you. These kind people are going to make a donation, and he smiles and looks at all of you, to the museum in exchange for some research being done. And as I know that you are a student of the university, it would be likely best if you were the one to head over to the library and look up anything that has to do with the battle with the jackal wares. And was there anything else of that incident that you wanted to know?
Does
Where
anyone...
are they?
Oh, they were
think
locked
that's
away.
it for now.
No,
I-
not like the tiefling. Where is the tiefling?
Oh. I don't know. If you could search for any information as to what happened to the heroes of that incident. He looks a little perplexed, like, that's really good information. I'm surprised I don't know that.
That's a good question.
Right? So she picks up her painting and covers it with a kind of like a thin cotton cloth and pulls it tight over the frame and slides it into one of the nearby shelves and heads out unless there's anything else that you all want to ask of her. Okay. She heads out. She should have that information for you by this evening, tomorrow at the latest.
Well, what do you guys think? Shall we go to the church?
What's a church to, like, who do they worship in this church? Is it a
I think
fun
they should
god?
change their
You
minds.
have
We should
heard
change
people talk about the sorry, my brain just turned off. One sec. It's
You
the-
glitched for a minute.
Yeah, the Temple of Humanity,
Humanity.
and you got the feeling that there was no deity worship in the way that you are used to it.
Wait. They've got a god of humans? Like, don't they know that that's not how that works? Like, they were kind of the last things to be created down the line, and it wasn't by a god of humans, I'll tell you that. I mean, that's history. That's kind of how it went down, right? You know, first there were us, then there was everything else. It's true. Read a book.
Well, and they're also not very hospitable. We found that out right away. So it seems like they're not really focusing on the right things. We should check this out. Maybe try and take over the church.
Yes!
We're bringing Twilight to the masses.
To the church?
To the church. Off we go.
Okay, Dizzy, are you good with that?
I am. I don't think there's anything else that I can find here.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right, so you all wind your way through the museum, and as you get outside, it's still daylight. It's probably around 2 or 3 in the afternoon at this point. You do recall general directions to get to the temple.
Just, like, right around the corner. It's like right up catty corner this way, right on the map.
That was the university. So you
Yeah,
had like
it's-
the university and then the
Museum
the
was up
museum.
there.
So you're gonna head back,
Yeah.
I believe, west.
It's west, but it's
Towards
not.
the tower, right? Like
Yeah,
the
tower's
I
in the
think
center.
so.
Tower's in the center, right? Up north of
Yeah.
the
Kind of,
docks.
Yeah.
And the university's to the northeast, and the museum was like north of that quarter there.
Mhm.
Memory serves. Then you had Is the church right? The church is right in city center, isn't it? Or is it like just north
That's
of the
the
tower?
tower. I
It
thought
is,
was
yeah. So north of the tower, yeah. So you're gonna head
North of
back
the tower.
west and cross over. So actually, you're gonna have to go south. You're gonna go south, go through Shadewell into the bowels, cross the bridge, and then go past the tower and go back north. The chapel sits inland from that dock area that you had originally came, but outside of the King's Quarters walls.
Okay. While they're going, Lyra is definitely she's with Lilith, like kind of Lilith was on the way to the university. She's like,
Mhm.
somebody is following us.
Yeah.
Like somebody is following us. Like, so she's gonna really be on the lookout for that man that she knows by face. It doesn't know his name because, you know, he pretended to be a normal person.
Which man was that? Because there's been a few people that have been.
The one that has been following Lyra and Lilith. He's redheaded. Right?
Okay.
Am I?
Okay, yeah.
Yes, okay,
Go
yeah,
ahead and make
okay.
a perception check for me as you
Okay.
move along through. Is anyone else doing anything while you?
Yeah. I think I'd like to
Ooh.
check out the same thing since
Nice.
we were both
Yeah.
experiencing that prior.
Okay. And Dizzy, what are you doing as you walk through? Sorry, you just put food in your mouth. Do you want me to come back to you?
Oh no, you're good.
Okay.
I'll keep a passive lookout to
Okay.
see if there's anything going on.
What
Yeah,
is
like
your passive?
It is 11.
Okay. And Twiggy, what are you doing?
Seagulls.
Keeping an eye out for the seagulls. You
Well,
definitely,
I mean, going back to that awful bridge where there's all
Right.
those seagulls.
as
Gotta
you
prep
head
myself.
through the bowels, the sound gets louder as you are nearing that bridge, and you can see their white blurred shapes as they swoop by the street that you're on up ahead. Dizzy, as you're heading along, you don't notice anyone following you so much as you kind of, I don't want to say you're getting used to, but it's becoming very old news when people are like, kind of looking at the group of you. Some are kind of like glaring towards Lyra. Some of them just kind of, I would say the bulk of people are just kind of they look interested at this point to see you. Like earlier you had gotten a feeling that word of your group's arrival in town had spread, and so a lot of people are like pointing, talking, and like kind of whispering to each other. And every so often you hear people talking about the group of strangers. Oh, that must be them. Oh, look at that girl's midriff. She should be ashamed of herself. But I mean, for the most part, it's just you are all an oddity to their everyday life. Twiggy is really the prime. Like Lyra and her outfit is like something that you feel goes against their morals, but Twiggy is just like the colorful, bright, fluttering creature that everyone is just like, what is that? Or they're just like, I did pay good money to have a bird like that, or something.
Lyra the purple plant. Oh, she's not a plant here. Sorry, she's a plant elsewhere. Lyra the purple person with the brightly colored pet.
That's right.
She still
person
sticks with
a
the fact
brightly
that
colored pet.
she still sticks with the fact that Twiggy's her pet here.
Speaking of Lyra and Lilith, you two are keeping an eye out, and you don't see that red-headed fellow following you. Every so often you do feel like people are kind of keeping an eye on you more than others, but none of them follow you. So whether or not those people are lookouts for those who have been following you, or if they're just people who are put off by your group's appearance.
Okay. So then I guess we continue on.
Okay.
Except I think, Lilith wants to kind of open and close some doors or windows just as we go by, but far enough away from us, just to kind of draw out someone if they are being shady, just to
Gotcha.
spook them a little.
Yeah, no one like seems more guilty or anything, or comes out when you do that. But you do like get some reactions of people that are like looking around to see who did that, or like they'll go over to the window and try and like fix it. Like obviously something's wrong with it. And as you all kind of exit out onto this side of the docks, or that like those fisher dock areas, in the bridges before you, Lyra and Lilith, you notice an older man kind of at the peak of the bridge, as he's casting his line into the water. You remember him, I believe, to be Henry.
Henry, I think, yes.
These are pretty. We wave, or I wave.
Yeah.
Right?
Lyra's going to wave as
Okay.
well, but she also does want to stop.
Like stop there before you get to him, or stop?
No,
at
no, no.
him?
Stop to talk to him.
Okay. Yeah, as you wave at him, his face kind of splits into a big beaming smile, and he waves at you. And as you near closer, or as you get closer, he's like, I was so hoping that you would be coming this direction. I had heard that you had headed over the bridge, so I thought this would be a good place to wait. This is my son, Ethan. And he brings him up, and I mean, if you imagined Henry probably 30 years ago, he's like the spitting image. He just doesn't have the crazy white hair and beard. His beard is also full, but it is like a darker brown. And he kind of he's currently has his line cast, and he looks over and nods, and you could see even behind the beard there's like this burning blush as he's like, yeah, Dad, great, thanks.
Lyra will kind of give Ethan a nod, and then she's gonna look to Henry, say, Henry, I have a question for you, if you don't mind me asking.
Of course not.
It might be a little inappropriate, but how old are you?
How old am I these days? I stopped counting after. Okay, no, I'm in my late 60s.
Are you?
What's that?
Lyra's just like, are you? That's a feat. Congratulations, Henry.
Thank you. I blame good eating, and he rubs his belly.
These are my friends, by the way. You know, she kind of starts to ask, and then she's like, these are my friends. You've met Lilith.
Of course.
This is Dizzy.
Hello,
And she kind of
Dizzy.
points to Dizzy, and then she
Hello.
kind of like points to Twiggy, who wherever Twiggy is, probably hiding from the seagulls, because, you know.
Yeah, where is Twiggy?
Yeah.
Well, as always, I believe that we're gonna have to put Lilith between myself and the seagulls. It will take them longer to devour her, so that I have a chance to get a breakaway.
So, I mean, as you're standing on the bridge, or as Lilith is standing on the bridge, like, there's seagulls kind of, like, diving at the river, and there's some sitting on the, you know, the walls of the bridge, the rooftops around the area. So are you, like, on her shoulder? Are you, like, kind of, like, on her bag?
Are you wearing robes, Lilith? What are you wearing?
I'm wearing robes, and I've got a bag, like a big satchel thing.
Yeah, so I just to go all the way down, just kind of thinking if there's like a gap, I'm going to be doing a little bit of weaving around your ankles, you know, kind of doing a little bit of duck and dive.
Gotcha.
There's,
Twiggy's like dodging around.
Yeah, you got to keep
pretty low.
Keep moving.
Right.
You got to keep moving.
So yeah. So Lyra's like that's Twiggy.
Oh, what? I've heard tell that you had some kind of strange bird, but my eyes must be going. It looks furry.
You know, he's a very unique species.
Well, good for you. I remember when people like you, no offense, used to come through this area much more often, but then the mists moved closer to town, and we just don't see outsiders nearly as often as we used to.
Do you remember outsiders?
I do. We used to have outsiders fairly often.
Do you remember the battle between the? Do you know what Jackowares are, Henry?
You know, but that was one of my favorite stories growing up. My parents were alive during that time. The Jackowares were locked away probably 4 years before I was born.
Interesting. Did they tell you any stories about people like us? You know, I was just like
all the time. They were so grateful for those adventurers that came through and locked away those monsters.
She kind of like gives a look to everybody else, like, this might be a better source of
You
information.
share one of these stories? Yeah, will you share one of these stories with us? And Lilith is going to give a little bit of her rations to the sun.
he kind of looks at it and he's like, what is this? What kind of rations do you have? Like, is it like dried beef, or is it just like
Yeah, it's gonna be
spam?
some dried beef.
It's something besides fish.
Right? He takes like a chew of it and kind of like thinks about it for a minute. That's not bad. Let's see. You want a story?
Yep.
So my mother used to tell me of Rumberwin Flatsunder. She was a shorter, stout woman who, she worshipped a person called the Morning Dawn, Lavender something. I don't remember exactly. My memory's going, but she remembers this dwarf woman being quite energetic about her beliefs and the power she wielded through those beliefs. We don't see much like that these days with the church, but there's maybe some inkling of divinity that still peeks its head in here in Paridon. Anyway, I might be rambling, so make sure you put me back on course. And Ethan looks over at him. He's like, yeah, he if you want a story, be prepared to. Do you want here? And he like goes over and gets a crate and sets it down for Lilith, and then goes and gets another one, brings it over, and grabs another one and brings it over. Does your pet need water? Like, should I get a water bowl for him?
Water is only appropriate under certain circumstances. What is the correct?
It talks.
Yeah, of course I talk. The correct thing is either a bowl of honey water or wine. Those are the two acceptable things. Milk will be allowed only on Thursdays when the moon is waning. This is the way.
Your pet can have wine? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, please get him wine.
So he goes over and like pulls out like a little like a mess kit and like takes it apart, pulls the bowl out, takes a wine skin and squeezes some wine in it and sets it down on the ground.
Oh my god, finally.
That's my own making that. I hope your Twiggy enjoys it.
I'm gonna get in it.
It's not bad. I mean, it is definitely not the vinegar that Dizzy had found at the mug when you arrived here, but you've definitely had better also. So,
well, yeah, humans. It's
Humans.
so cute it's so cute when they try and make wine. It's so cute.
I do recall my mother telling me about how I just said it. Rumberwin had kind of some issues with our church. They seem to, or rather, I guess I should say, it was the other way around. They didn't take her worship of divinity as kindly. They didn't want it spreading to the masses, but otherwise, she was very helpful. She was kind. She used to use her wondrous magic to purify some of the drinks and the food back when we had food, or at least more of it. And it was, I remember how taken she was, my mother, with Rumberwin.
She was taken? Like, and then potentially replaced? I mean, usually
Oh,
that's only with
yeah.
children.
No,
Like,
no.
only,
She
like,
was very
infants.
taken with her. Like she really appreciated her and liked her. She actually bought one of ra- those paintings that are made from other paintings, replicas. She bought a replica of the painting of Rumberwin, holding the jawbone.
Jawbone.
Yes, the key that locked away the jackal-wares. They were fierce, those jackal-wares.
They were. They are. They were. Larry kind of like stumbles over that. Did your mother ever tell you stories of what happened to Rumpelware and everyone else and the jawbone? And, you know.
One day, the jawbone is still here. It is, locked in the stone to keep the jackal-wares in their prison. But the heroes, Rumberwin and her folk, one day were just gone. Went back in the mists, I suppose.
What stone? You said a stone? There's a stone. It's a rock. Probably went back to the rock. Dwarves are hatched from rocks. That's probably what it is.
Dwarves are hatched from rocks.
It's true.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, a little known fact. They like one day there's a boulder and the next day there's a dwarf. Bam. It's like magic.
Interesting. My mother would have really loved to know that. Dizzy,
Yes,
as you're hanging out, you notice like some seagulls every so often kind of swoop by, and they're getting like closer to Lilith, but they're not really
Okay.
like super close yet. It's almost like there's something that's getting their attention.
All right. Can I look and try to see what's getting their attention?
Yeah. As one kind of swoops by, your passive is 11.
Yes.
As it swoops by, it definitely clocks Twiggy. Like it sees Twiggy because like as it swoops by, Lilith is in between, but then as it passes Lilith, you see it focus on Twiggy, and then it kind of flies off and circles around. It looks almost like it doesn't want to come closer to the group of people, but it knows Twiggy is there.
Ah. Okay. Well, I will just tell Twiggy, you might want to try hiding a little better. You've gotten the attention of the seagulls.
Damn it. Draw Goot underneath the robes. My rapier out. Thorny bits.
Okay.
Keep him at bay.
So as Twiggy scoots back on the defense against the rabid seagulls, what is Lilith doing?
I think Lilith wants to recruit the old man to tell tales from his parents about the olden days in Havitica's school, to kind of share with them and normalize that things were a little bit different. So I'd like to ask Henry if he will share his wisdom with the young ones of the school and send him off to Havitica and say that we sent him to teach a class.
Gotcha. So as you say that, his eyes kind of light up. He's like, "Oh, that would be fantastic," but then his demeanor drops and he's like, "Oh, but In order to survive these days, we just have to remain fishing. Uh, I sure would love to do that someday, and hopefully soon, the mists will roll back like they were, and we'll once again have sustainable food. But until then, I have to be here with my son.
What if Havitica brings all the kids so you can also teach them how to fish? You can tell them stories and teach them how to fish at the same time.
He kind of looks at you, and you notice that because on the other side of him is his son, kind of like slowly reeling in his line, and he looks behind at you, and he's like, just like nods. Oh, well, I'm sure that wouldn't be good for them to just be outside all day in the smoke. But I mean, if they were to come down here, I'm sure the fishermen wouldn't mind. We would probably need some pillows or something for them to sit on, or more crates, and he just kind of starts rambling.
Okay. Be amazing. And so if a bunch of children show up with seats, you just tell them all the stories of the olden days and the stories that your parents told you about all the different kinds of people and wars and different kinds of monsters that you've heard about. But just try not to scare the bejesus out of them. Just, talk to them about other cultures.
Some of the olden days were the Jesus scary.
Okay. Just a comfortable level of scary.
I'll do my best.
Thank you. What a sweetie pants.
And he goes back to talking about the things that he needs, and he's like, "Oh, we should probably have some crackers, and maybe we can get some lemon curd to go on the crackers and share those about. I mean, you wouldn't mind." And he points, was talking to his son. He's like, "Dad, I never mind crackers, lemon curd." And then another fisherman is like, "You're gonna share, right?" "Oh, of course."
Oh man.
I love Henry.
From we're gonna have to help them.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to help.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, thank you, Henry.
Of course.
Best of luck to you fishing. And she just kind of looks at the water menacingly, you better give me fish.
It quickly pulls back, and all these fish are just flopping around.
Yeah.
Right.
Moana style, okay, whoop.
Spits fish out at you. All right, what's the plan?
Off to the church still?
Sure.
Yeah.
As long as it's fine with everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
God of Humans is all about God of Humans.
Oops.
Get Twiggy away from these seagulls.
Yes. Immediately.
Dizzy, you notice as the group moves, you've kind of been clocking where that seagull is, or that small group is, so that you can see if they notice. And Twiggy's actually doing pretty well as far as staying hidden from them at this point.
Okay.
And they circle around where you were for a bit, and then kind of squawk and fly off south.
That's good.
All right, so as you head north through the dock area, or the Fisher Dock area, soon you kind of, knowing that it isn't right on this where you came in from, you veer towards King's Quarter, having been told that it's just off of the outer wall. And sure enough, as you're heading up the street, you see kind of, it's not really super tall, it's kind of like Vetti's church, actually, where it's kind of built to be 2 stories, but in Vetti's church it's not 2 stories inside, it's just very open. And so you get the idea that it's very similar in build as you get closer. But as you step out from the street that you were on and onto what might be the church grounds. There's not a lot built super close to the building. You do notice it is larger. It's much wider and has multiple buildings. Some look like they might be living quarters, and others might be some kind of gathering hall. But there is a main structure that looks like a temple.
Are there any of like the town's guards about? Like, does it look like it's like an official type of, or is it just kind of like a come one, come all type of temple?
You do notice a couple of guards that are walking the area, but it seems like, and you've noticed guards walking the streets.
Right.
It's more like that as opposed to
Okay.
officially guarding the church. But make a
Okay.
perception check for me, please. You do notice there are some folks that are wearing you would almost call them like priestly robes, except for as you look more, they're more versatile than like just a robe would be. Like they're tied at the waist, and it looks like they don't really block the knees from movement. They're wearing some wraps around their hands, and their hoods are pulled up, but their hoods allow them they kind of droop widely, and they allow them more vision. And Lyra, having been around the Forgotten Realms, this is much more of a guardian monk style garb as opposed to, and you haven't seen other people wearing this in this town
Around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, you get the feeling there are guards. They're just not the city guards.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Lyra kind of notes this, and she kind of looks at them all and just goes, "Try and behave a little bit, please." And she's just gonna kind of start to walk up to the temple.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. As if we belong. We're just
yeah,
gonna...
pretty much. We're going to church today, guys.
Yep,
Hey.
yep.
Just a couple of humans worshiping the human god.
Dizzy and Twiggy, are you doing anything different?
No, I'm just gonna go as my normal self.
Okay. Twiggy, are you going along as well?
Yeah. I don't know what you do in human god temples. Gonna fashion a crown out of leaves, I guess, and be presentable.
Okay. So as Twiggy's kind of like weaving some leaves from the orchards that you were in earlier together into some kind of like little hat crown thing, you get closer to the opening of the church, and from inside you can hear kind of not quite monotonous chanting, but some fairly droning chants coming from within. Compared to outside, it is a little dim inside, but outside is also dim. So even as you get closer, it doesn't take long for your eyes to adjust as you step inside. There are several candelabras lit with candles. It doesn't look like this building has any of those lamps that make that hissing noise. But you don't see... You see a couple of parishioners that are just kind of sitting in pews. They look like they're kind of in reflection as opposed to being at any kind of service. And across the way, so there's several lines of pews. There is a pulpit. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of at the front where someone would stand to give their sermon, and you can see that there are some seats that kind of go off from there, almost like there could be multiple speakers that would sit up there. But you do notice that there is whereas this is very open, goes up to the ceiling, which is on the outside it would be the roof, and so there's no structure above you, but there is a center column. You can walk on either side of it, but it takes up the bulk of the width of this church, and there's a door into the column behind the pulpit. And there's like a small, the doors are not closed, but they're pushed more closed. There's just a crack that has it open, and the sound of chanting is coming from inside.
Hmm.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I don't like it.
Is the chanting
mean-
like Kalema, Kalema, Kalema?
Amam Shiba, Amam Shiba, Amam Shiba.
So,
No, it doesn't sound, I mean, obviously it sounds, we'll say it sounds ritualistic, but you don't really recognize what it's for.
does Lilith know their kind of religion? Does Lilith know anything about it? Like what their belief style and what they...
Why don't you make me a religion check? Nice.
Doesn't know much.
So you come from Faerun, which is the Forgotten Realms' main continent, and for the most part, people, I would say the vast majority of people at least recognize that there are gods. Some don't subscribe to worshiping them, praying to them, putting any stock in them. It's not necessarily uncommon, but like for the most part, people have a chosen deity that they offer up thanks to. Like households tend to have like their patron deity, matron deity. But a lot of the times, in that polytheistic setting, like people are like clerics and paladins tend to choose, this is who I'm gonna fight for or stand for, whoever. But people in general, like when they go out to sea, they're like, oh, praise Umberly, please don't wreck our ship while we're out here. And in the morning they give praise to Lathander, the morning sun, for bringing the sun back around. And so there's a lot of there's the goddess Mistra, who a lot of mages at least offer up lip service to, if they don't actually thoroughly worship her. This is not like that. It does seem like these people have no belief in multiple gods, especially your gods. You've heard them talking about like the Church of Humanity, essentially. That doesn't sound familiar to you.
Lilith would like to Thume, and I'm wondering if I'm able to get into where everybody is praying, but create a Thume that they are following a false idol.
So what would that
And
how would
maybe-
that happen? Like what?
Like you are being lied to. You're following a false idol and make the ground shake.
Like people just kind of like look around. They look very perplexed. Some like kind of close the book that they have and they set it down, and they get up and they leave.
Like for shame.
Shame on you.
Shame.
And the ground is going to shake a little bit. And Lilith is just not going to really acknowledge that she did anything. Just like, oh, weird. What's that business all about?
So you, you hear there's like a brief pause in the chanting, and then it resumes. It does sound like maybe it's a little lighter than it was, like not quite as many voices, and the door fully opens and a robed fellow walks out. He's actually fairly young, compared to like the people that you've seen at the university that are in charge, and the museum and stuff like that. You guess he's probably in his late 20s, and he, quietly closes the door behind him, and he looks around and he sees you all, and he kind of like squints in your direction, and before he continues looking around the area.
Yeah, that seems right. Lilith is still going to act kind of like, what was that? But to make a note that every 15 minutes or so while we're here, that's going to happen.
Gotcha. After a little bit, he looks around like he hasn't been able to figure out where that noise came from, and he kind of sighs and blinks a few times, readjusts himself. Can I help you?
Yeah, this is our first time in here, and we were just here for a sermon. Some weird stuff is going on. Is that you guys?
Oh, there are no sermons right now. It's just open prayer. If you'd like to take a seat, you feel free to.
Can you give us a tour of this facility, this church?
He kind of like smiles, a little bit smirkingly. Absolutely. That is probably the door that you came in. These here are the pews in which you may sit. This back here is our prayer chamber. If you walk around, there are facilities for people to use during any long sermons or prayers, and then you would find the back door shortly thereafter.
Do you have a schedule of when we could come and listen? And who speaks? Like, are there different speakers?
You were
Just
obviously
curious.
outsiders, and so you would not understand this, but every morning at dawn and every night at dusk.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
Well, we also have some questions. We came from the museum. Really fascinating place. But there we learned about jackawares and a jawbone. Do you have any stories about that? We wanted to learn more about it, and just kind of assumed this would be the best place
Oh,
because you guys are so knowledgeable.
of course, everyone knows about the jawbone. It's fairly ancient history at this point. I wasn't even alive when that happened, but we've all heard the tales about how the heroes of the church rose up in their faith to defend and smite down the jackawares and imprison them forever.
So
Make an
what was their
insight
faith?
check for me. While he does believe what he's saying, he's not telling you the whole story.
Sure. What was their beliefs back then?
All the heroes
If
of the
he knows.
church, obviously, that we have our own divinity within us, and it is up to us to maintain our own well-being in future.
Wow. So you don't have you don't follow multiple divinities? You don't.
I suppose it depends on how you look at it. There are a multitude of people that live here within the city, and we all worship the divinity within ourselves.
Aren't you sweet? Aren't you so sweet?
You
Can we
sweet summer child.
Sweet summer child.
Is the jawbone like a relic that you guys actually have that people can see, or is that just does that exist anymore?
Oh, it's of course we still have it. It is, the key that keeps the prison locked. We don't allow people to see it should there, ever be any kind of accident to damage it or anything. But it is definitely
Sure.
something that remains.
What if our viewing was supervised so that we could pray to it to thank it for all the work it does?
That would be weird. What? I'm not sure I understand the point of that. Uh, but no, we really. I don't know if you know this, but there are sometimes forces within this city that don't always wear their true faces, and while we've been at peace with them for some time, yeah, there are every so often those from their factions that may seek to do greater harm within the city, and I can think of no greater harm that would come to this city should the jawbone be removed.
Can I intimidate him into showing us?
You could certainly try.
I know, I literally just like itinerary.
And extra tall.
What would you do
would
to
like
try and
give
intimidate him?
Guidance.
I would just say, I don't believe anything you're saying because, like, we've seen the jackal wear, so I'm tired of this runaround. Like, show us the jawbone now. Is
Okay.
What?
I would like to put my hand on Dizzy and cast guidance for him.
It
So, yeah.
it wouldn't
It's a
matter, but I appreciate it. So
Yeah,
Dizzy, you
I
can
got a
hang
nat
on.
one.
Yeah, hang on to
So-
that guidance. It lasts for a minute, right?
Okay.
Because who knows if you might
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
However, okay, so you don't feel like he's been intimidated, but he does like any kind of friendly demeanor that he had kind of withers away, and he glares at all of you. What do you know about the jawbone and where it is?
Don't you know where it is?
Unfortunately, no, we don't know where it is. We have theories.
So you're telling us that it's not actually, like, under surveillance, like you led us to believe?
That is, and he kind of looks around, but since your Thume scared people off, there isn't anyone in here with you. He looks around and he's all like, that is correct. It is not under our surveillance any longer. It has been stolen.
Oh, so you're saying that it was removed.
Correct. That means that the jackal wares are running free throughout the city.
No.
You guys had one job.
You had one job!
Yeah. I was like, oh no, really, you don't say.
I thought it was in a rock. They say it was in a rock.
It was held within a stone, yes, but it's been removed.
The stone was removed.
No, the stone is still there.
Oh.
The jawbone is not.
Wait, didn't we see a rock? Or there was something in the rock? And then the rock was like, there's no time but now, and it went down into the earth or something like that. Right? That's how it went down, I think, right? Yeah, the rock was like, yeah. And then stuff came out of the rock.
I'm
No.
not sure what you're talking about, but I might have forgotten. Does anyone else know what he's talking about?
No.
In the
I do not.
haunted house. In the haunted house, like the rock broke.
Wait,
Technically,
Ryan,
we broke the
okay.
rock.
I know what you're talking about.
We
Thanks.
did,
Thanks.
but like
I
the
don't
rock
think
just
it's
was like,
the rock.
what? Well, I mean, could have been a different rock that had jawbones in it. I don't know. Like stuff came out of it.
Uh-oh.
What?
We need to talk to your. I need to talk to your manager.
Unfortunately, Brother Man is not here with us at the moment. Is there something I could help you with?
Where is he?
He is on sabbatical.
Is he still in the same town?
Of course. How would one leave this town?
I don't know. How would one come? I was like also very unamused. Like
How
any
did you
sort of
get
friendly-
here?
Through
Well,
the
through
mist.
the mist, obviously. We got lost.
Well, perhaps you should try leaving the same way you came in.
Oh.
You're so cute. You're so cute.
I imagine that the denizens of this town, are, like when they get mad at each other, they're like, "Take a walk through the mists." Like,
Right.
Get out.
go through the mist.
I've been thinking if
The mist calls
if
you.
you just believe in if you want to like say God damn it, but what would you say? You're like, me damn it, man damn it, person damn. Anyway,
Take a hike in the mist. The mist
Right.
beckons.
if there's nothing else that I can help you with, then I should probably return to our prayers.
What do you pray for when you pray?
Guidance, usually, remembrance of the things that we've been taught by our history.
Your history.
Mm.
Who
Yeah.
writes your history? Who's the one that gives you the history to remember?
We have scribes that do that.
Are
Do you
they
have
also
then
members
your
of the
own-
church?
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. Of course they are.
Do you have your own private library?
Yes.
Can we go there?
I don't understand. What is your interest in the Jawbone and the Jackal wares? Are you here to help us?
If I were to say yes.
Do we have time for this? I feel like he's being very uncooperative. So maybe we should go elsewhere.
Lyra's just also over this. Like, Lilith, why would you do that? I do not wish to help this man.
What if there's information in the library that we need?
Well, we
We'll
could
sneak
just
in and steal it.
go into the library. They can't stop us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we
Do
have
we
the
know where the
magistrate on our
library
side.
is? In the church?
Of
just
course,
go
the
there?
library is always open for people to peruse the readings.
Great, thanks. I was just like,
Thank
bye.
you. All right. Yeah.
Okay,
I guess
bye.
Lilith is over it too. So just she waves her hand kind of dismissively, like, "Thank you."
He just
Before we-
stands there,
Can I
waits.
cast dissonant whispers on this person, or
Please do.
Are you going to?
oh yeah, I am.
Perfect.
All right.
What is your DC? Ooh, it's gonna be close.
13.
13. Go ahead and roll your damage.
I think
It's
automatic.
8. It already rolled
It's
it,
eight,
right?
yeah.
Oh, there it is. Thanks. He kind of winces and looks around, sticks his finger in his ear and does that. Like, what am I hearing? I'm sorry, I need to return to the prayer room. And he turns and like shakes his head some more. There's like a little wobble as he like turns around and he closes the door behind him.
Okay, so now what?
The hell out of Dodge. It's like, I'm over this place.
Well, yeah, we all are.
They have nothing of use for us.
Yeah, some of these people seem to want to help, but most of them do not.
Henry, he's good people.
Yeah.
That's okay. Helvetica, good people.
This
Well,
man.
do we dare go back and talk to I don't know, talk to the head of the guard again and talk to the magistrate again?
Like touching base would maybe be a good idea.
Okay.
Okay, so where are you heading to?
I think back to the magistrate's house.
Okay.
So I think, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually not that far away. You just have to essentially walk back down the wall. You just follow the wall along, and it'll turn and continue on to the main gate that all of you have seen, whether you went that way or not, to get into the king's quarters. And so it's open, and you walk right through. The guards like look at you, but there's no like motion to stop you or anything. And as you walk down that main thoroughfare, you see guards moving about. No one gives you any issues, other than maybe people that you haven't seen before. Like you definitely recognize some of the guards as you're moving along, but other ones are like giving you that like, what? Oh, that must be those people. But you don't run into any issues. And as you come to the gates of Alphonse's manse, the guards just open it for you. We've been expecting you.
Fabulous.
Heading inside.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
The guards at the door open the door, and you walk inside, and there's one of the kind of 30-year-old or so woman that some of you, I believe, had dinner with in the kitchen area with last night. And she's, oh, you're back. Can I get you anything? Refreshments? Do you want some hot towels to wash the dust away?
Yes.
Anyone else? I'll have some brought to your rooms. And she
Wonderful.
heads off.
Okay.
Where are you going?
What do you think about going to our one room and just kind of discussing for a moment
Okay.
what we want to do? Unless you want to talk to somebody first, unless you just want to talk to the magistrate, get some more answers, and then go to our room and kind of discuss.
Should we tell the magistrate that the jawbone has been stolen? Or...
You know what? That seems important, Dizzy.
That seems a little important, yes.
I think you're right on to something. We should let them know that.
Since everyone seems to think that this jawbone is still, where it's supposed to be.
Okay. So as you're kind of like discussing what you want to do, the same woman walks out. She's like, oh, is there anything else I can do for you? I was just heading to let the magistrate know that you're here.
I think we need to talk to him first before we retire to our rooms.
Come this way.
To let
Come
him
this
know
way.
some important things.
And she leads you down that hallway that you had gone down before to his study. She knocks, and you hear him from inside. Come in. She opens the door and lets the four of you in.
Sweet.
As you enter, he's like, oh, thank goodness. I was so worried that something had happened to you. The captain of the guard was here earlier and had said that there was murder charges being brought up against you. And he is looking at Dizzy.
Oh, yeah. But we settled that, I think.
I mean, knowing that you were in my company all night, I'm sure that you had nothing to do with it, but what happened?
Jack-o'-wares.
Yeah. They impersonated the guards and said that I murdered someone, and that was not the case. So
Interesting.
we killed a few of them.
They must be worried about your presence here in town.
So I think this is probably the part where we should tell him about the jawbone.
Were you able to find it?
No. And apparently the church doesn't know where it is either. So
I had a feeling. He kind of like leans back in his chair, pinches his nose. This is not good. Not good at all. What do you do?
Didn't they just have the one job? I mean, how hard. Just keep an eye on it.
You would think. I mean, it is underground in a fairly fortified area. One would think that the church could handle this, but obviously not.
They were rather evasive about everything.
Interesting. Although I suppose if I had dropped the ball like they had, I would probably be a little worried too. And so I take it you've spoken with Brother Man?
We did not.
No.
Brother Man is
Funny story.
currently on sabbatical, so
On sabbatical? What does that even mean? Where would he go?
I have no idea. They said that he didn't leave town, but that
Hmm.
was as much information as we got.
Interesting. Is there anything else that you've learned?
I mean, that it's a depressed community and that everybody needs maybe more food, a better life.
I can't say you're wrong.
Lyra is going to tell Alphonse, the young priest, worshiper, whatever he wants to call himself. And then she pauses, she goes, realizes that, like, didn't learn his name. Right? So she's like, she kind of describes him to Alphonse.
It's not often that I head over to the Church of Humanity, and his face goes. But when I do have to make an appearance for the court, I think you're talking about Sebastian.
Oh, Sebastian.
Yeah, he was the one who helped us, and he didn't seem keen to answer many questions.
It seemed like he was holding something back.
Again, it might simply be that there was worry over the church being found inept in their duties. However,
But
that is
they are.
strange that Sebastian was not more forthcoming with you. I would feel that I feel like he would seek out help where help is given to rectify the situation as quickly as possible. I'll have to inquire about what's going on over there.
He
That
could
like
probably use the shake-up.
yeah, that look of paranoia that like Lyra has been getting sometimes now, it just kind of like crosses her face a little bit. She stays quiet, but she's like had like an internal like, oh my god, what if that wasn't him? Trust no one.
Yeah.
You just turn and stab Lilith just to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for him?
I think it would be really nice to see where it was stored at some
Yes.
point, and just have a look about to see if we can see anything that people have missed.
He didn't let you down to see it?
Nope.
No.
No.
Now there's definitely a cover-up going on because it is a public venue for people to go in and see. Of course, there are, there's a separator. There are bars between the wall itself.
I knew it.
And where you can see it, but obviously they're trying to hide the fact that it's been stolen.
But even after we talked about it not being there, he still did not let us down to see it.
Interesting. He reaches over and picks up a bell and rings it. Was it Frederic? I'm pretty sure his name is Frederic.
Yeah,
Frederic comes
back.
in, his top butler. Yes, sir. If you could send a runner over to the Church of Humanity, to Sebastian specifically, and just have him inquire as to, Have him inquire as to why the this what am I trying to say here? Access to view the stone has been closed. And have the runner gauge his reaction. That'd be great. If he decides to be more forthcoming with the runner, have the runner get as much information from him as possible. Of course,
The runner should have a bodyguard that just kind of stays on the outside of the church, just in case.
Just yeah, you might want that.
Good thinking. Frederick, send a couple of guards with him. Of course, sir. And Frederick nods to you all and heads out. Well, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'm sure you're hungry. It's almost dinner time, actually. Would you be interested in joining me for a meal?
As is customary, of course.
Yeah, it's okay.
I was waiting for it.
Right. If you...
I was like, sure, Twiggy wants a meal.
Well, just have one of the servants bring you, something to wash up with and such, and perhaps say an hour. He looks at his wrist, even though he doesn't have a watch. Perhaps in an hour, meet you in the dining room.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay. Do you head out from his study?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Heading out, you see that your doors to your rooms are open, and there's like movement inside them, and a couple of the younger servants come out, and they look like they were carrying pitchers, as though they just refilled your water basins for washing up. They just nod to you as they pass and head back towards the kitchen. What do you do?
Can we go into one room and talk about it for a little bit and then split up?
A wash up before dinner.
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. The closest room, that would be Twiggy and Dizzy's room.
Okay.
All right, so you head in there. Doesn't look like much has changed. They've kind of like straightened your sheets, changed out your towels, and there's now like some steaming water in your wash basin. You do notice that there is a small like plate, like a platter of some cheeses and crackers, fairly sparse, but if there's another one in Lilith and Lyra's room, then it makes a little more sense.
Right.
Okay. Lilith refrains,
Okay.
thinking that there's something back in the room. So
Okay.
Yeah, Lyra will leave it to Twiggy and Dizzy for the food, but Lyra does close the door behind her.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. What is everyone doing?
Oh,
So
man.
what kind of drug is sabbatical? Because like they keep saying that he's on sabbatical. Is that like a thing here? Is it like skooma or something, or is it like I don't know, like I don't know what mortals do.
Twiggy, he's taking a break from his job. That's what they mean by sabbatical. He's taking some time for himself.
Well, why did they just say that?
It's a nicer way of saying that he just doesn't want to deal with people's bullshit anymore. He wants to take a moment.
Take a moment. Yes.
Did he take a break before or after the job room went missing?
Sounds like maybe after. Sounds like we should find him.
What, they don't know where he is?
Didn't seem like they did.
Have people tried just like going door to door and saying, "Hey, person taking break here," or
It doesn't seem like they've looked that hard.
well, it's not that hard. It's not that big of a place.
It's exactly why it's suspicious, Twiggy.
It's all coming together now.
while this
Well, do you think
conversation
we need to find him? Okay, sorry.
while this conversation's going on, Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm just listening to everything that's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Thinking maybe we should find him. Maybe he's actually dead or something like that.
Okay.
What if he's not dead?
And your passive is an 11, right?
Yes.
And Lyra, yours is like
18.
18. Lilith, what is your passive perception?
Such a good question. Why am I 15?
Perfect. And Twiggy, what is yours?
12.
Excellent. So Dizzy's just kind of hanging out. Are you like sitting on your bed? Are you like on your, like leaning against like one of the dressers? Are you just standing? What's your?
I'll be leaning against one of the dressers.
Okay. So Lyra, you just happen to glance over at Dizzy, and there's a window nearby, and so you don't really catch it at first. But as you glance at Dizzy, and Dizzy's kind of, thinking and then seems to be in agreement with the group, you just randomly focus beyond Dizzy,
Okay.
out the window,
Mm-hmm.
and you see a redheaded fellow who's like standing across the street. So like there's a yard, and then there's like the wrought iron fence, and then there's a street, and there's a street that goes off the other way, perpendicular to the one that runs behind the house. And he's standing right at that intersection against the corner of the house, and he's looking right in your window, like it's obvious. And as soon as like your eyes lock, he walks away.
Yeah, it's like those moments in in a movie where it's like
Zooms in.
zooms in. Yeah, exactly. Lyra's just like, it's you.
Right? And Lilith, you don't see that, but you see Lyra just stiffen and go into like combat mode, right?
Yeah, because Lyra's
Lilith
gonna,
is just gonna say like redhead.
Lyra's just gonna be like, under her breath, be like, you. You. And she's gonna look at Lilith and be like, he's gone again. And then she has like a brilliant idea. She goes, Alphonse, maybe he knows many faces. Perhaps over dinner, we ask him about this red-headed fellow, because I am sick and tired of seeing his face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if Lyra had told Dizzy or Twiggy that they would like about this guy, that they were being followed. I don't remember if she did.
I think
don't think so. Or
I think
maybe
you said you were
did.
being followed, but do
Wait,
you remember the description?
I don't remember the description.
Okay.
Okay.
And I could be wrong.
Okay.
You might
I mean,
not.
Lyra's reaction is pretty obvious, so like everybody in the room would see it. So like whether she describes him or not, again, like it's like, especially when she's like, you. And are there curtains to the windows?
There are, yeah, and they're
shades?
currently pulled open, and like kind of
Okay.
they have those curtain ties that
Yeah,
kind
the
of
ties and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, Lyra's gonna like walk over and just like yank each tie and just like look out the window one more time and just like slam them shut. Like
Yeah. It gets immediately darker. They're not quite like blackout curtains, but they're meant to darken the room should they be closed. And so the room kind of takes on this. They're kind of a maroon color, so there's this slight maroonish hue to the dim light.
Right.
I think everyone except for Twiggy has dark vision. Oh no, Lilith doesn't right now because that effect is not on. So it's dim in here. It's not dark.
right.
Lilith
Lyra
will do Twilight Sanctuary just for funsies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can see a little bit more just because we're all together and like
Yeah.
That maroonish light turns into more of a faint purple glow.
Just
Twiggy,
go
you
chase
look.
Just go chase him. Like, just go out the window, get him.
You would think it would be that easy.
It is. I do it all the time.
Then do
Oh.
it.
Yeah, Lyra's like, well, then you try. If you can do such a good job.
Okay, I will. Fly out the window.
Okay, are you gonna open the window, or are you just gonna?
No, I'm just gonna go straight through it. Boom. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why
Glass
don't, you
can't
make
contain me.
why don't you make a strength check for me?
All right. It's just going through that door. It'd be amazing. Strength. Strength check.
Yes, please. Nice.
Nice.
This glass is much sturdier than it looks. However, there is a Twiggy-shaped hole that appears as Twiggy smashes through it, and it doesn't really like collapse like you would expect. Like it doesn't shatter and blow out, but there are pieces that, where Twiggy goes through, fall out on the other side. Twiggy, you're now outside of the house. As you break out, you do notice a couple of guards that were like walking the perimeter look up at you. There's like a moment of like shock, and they're like going to draw their weapons, but then they're like, what's going, like they just tilt their head in your direction. What do you do?
I don't know. Is there a redheaded person?
Make a perception check.
Go get this redheaded person. The easiest thing to do is be like, I demand you talk to him. Weird redheaded person. You there.
You fly up and you're looking around, and as you're like starting to scan the streets for any sign of a redheaded person, something is swooping by you. And you're
He's
like,
in league.
what? And you look over and there's a pigeon that goes flittering by. And then you look back and you don't see any redheaded person.
Pigeons are okay. Pigeons are our friend. Don't split the party. The room get long.
Inside the room, what are you all doing now that Twiggy has made such a dramatic exit?
I think I'm gonna open the window and stick my head out.
Okay, so you have to go over and like move the curtain again.
Yep.
Twiggy just kind of like moved it out of his way and then smashed through. So you move it aside, and like Twiggy's like maybe 10 feet out the window, just kind of hovering there.
Twiggy, come back in the room.
Scared him off. Scared him off.
You
He'll never
scared
bother
him
us
off.
again. Yeah,
You
I did.
scared the bejesus out of him.
Did. That's right.
Come on.
He'll never bother us again. Top of it.
Larry just kind of looks at Dizzy and it's just like very quietly like, how did this become our lives?
I don't know.
I wish I did.
All right, what do you all do?
Well, if
Thinking I
it-
just want to freshen up a little bit. and
yeah, I
head
was
to
gonna
dinner.
say Larry's ready to wash up and head to dinner.
Okay. Twiggy, are you coming back inside?
I mean, job done. I totally successful in that mission. There were paintings with people's faces on them doing people stuff, right? That we saw in the museum and in the library. Question mark.
There were in the museum. I can't remember. I don't think there were in the library.
Were no pictures in the library, right? But they were in the museum.
Yeah.
There were like portraits. There were portraits, right?
Yeah, so like there were the portraits of the magistrates, the current magistrates as you went in.
Mm-hmm.
So Twiggy's playing same game, like in his head, where like for a brief second there's some like pause. Did any of those faces look like the faces we saw in the house that also had a rock that also broke open?
Gotcha. Just do an intelligence check.
Ah, super good at those.
And while you're doing that, Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm gonna look at everyone and just say, should we just, wait until dinner to continue this quest for the redheaded person?
Probably.
do you think maybe they're a spy for the jackal wares, or?
Myra's just like, trust no one, Dizzy.
What if we sent him a formal invitation, like something on nice stationery, a little bit of calligraphy, and
Lyra does know where he lives, or maybe works, or somewhere. He went into a house and then she knocked on his
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, maybe
That's
we should just go ask him some questions.
Yeah, let's just show up at his house.
no. It's a grand ball. We'll have a grand ball and masks, and we'll dance and like ask questions, but in a sideways sort of fashion. And it takes hours for us to accomplish anything because it's courtly delight.
Masquerade Ball episode, anyone?
Yes. Oh my God. He agrees. She agrees. Love it. Yes, I know.
So
100.
I-
Yes, I know. Fancy dress.
I totally feel like I should fickle fate, but that was my fault because I knocked on my desk. Libby, there's no
Oh.
one there. Come here. Come here. So you hear a knock. I gotta remember, I can't actually knock. You hear a knock on the door. Libby, there's no one there.
It's okay, baby. Oh.
So you hear a knock on the door. Is everything
there's no
all
one
right in there?
We're going to have a ball. We're planning a ball. It's going to be glorious.
You're this sounds like one of the guards from the front door. I was told that a window was broken and the flying creature, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, came flying out. Is everything okay?
Practicing my dance moves.
Do you mind if I open the door?
Do we mind?
Lyra just shrugs. She's like, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
They already think we're crazy.
So you
Yeah.
you hear the click as it like the handle turns and he opens the door. He looks in. Everybody all right?
Just peachy.
We'll meet you for dinner in a little bit. We'll head down soon. It's okay.
We're having dinner?
Well, I mean, we're having dinner with the magistrate.
Oh,
but I will probably
oh.
see you around anyway.
I gotcha.
Don't
Okay,
worry.
well, don't hesitate to call if there are any problems.
Okay.
No problems here.
And he slowly
No
closes
problem.
the door. All right, so everyone gets washed up and gets ready for dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Around an hour after seeing the magistrate, the younger girl that you saw earlier coming out of one of your rooms knocks on Dizzy and Twiggy's door. The magistrate is at the dinner table if you're ready.
Fabulous.
Lyra's ready.
Yep.
She's refreshed.
Yep.
washed up.
Lyra's ready.
All right. After you come out, she shows you all down to the dining room. Places have been set for you all, and you do notice that Frederic is standing off to the side, not quite like in the corner, but he's like off to the side, kind of waiting if anyone needs anything. There are some covered platters, and there are glasses filled with kind of an amber liquid at each of the spaces that are allowed, that have been set for you. Twiggy, you notice that there are several pillows set upon one of the tables, or sorry, set upon one of the chairs, and the silverware looks smaller for some
Oh,
reason.
fancy. They brought out the good stuff.
Did everyone sit down?
Well, I'll sit down.
Yeah.
Okay. About that time, the magistrate walks back in, and you can see that his chair was like kind of pulled out a little, as though he had been sitting and then left again. And he has a piece of paper in his hands. Perfect timing. He kind of sits down. He doesn't turn back towards the table quite yet. He's reading. This is a missive from the runner we sent to the church. Apparently, they allowed him to see where the jawbone was kept. It is gone. But we are asked to keep it quiet for now as they determine how to best deal with the issue. And he folds it up and puts it into an inside pocket on his jacket.
So did they say why they wouldn't allow us to see it in particular, or?
The missive doesn't say anything. It's rather to the point as far as the jawbone being gone. Oh, please, feel free, dig in.
Lilith will sit down and eat.
Lara will sit down too. Take the cover off of her thing.
As you take it off, you notice that there are a couple, about half the size of a chicken, roasted birds on each platter. There are some pretty sad-looking carrots and some greens that you're not really sure what the greens are. They're kind of wilted and or they kind of steam a little, so you get the feeling they were like boiled or something. Doesn't look like there's much in the way of spices on any of them, although you do notice that there are some salt and pepper shakers on the table. And Alphonse reaches forward with a knife and a fork and like carves off a piece of one of the birds and puts it on his plate and starts eating.
Lara avoids the chicken.
Okay.
She's
The
a vegetarian.
chicken.
Yeah, well, she's a vegetarian too.
'Kay.
So she just like grabs the sad carrots and the sad greens.
Yeah, so
she really serves wine.
as
Is
you're
there
kind of
wine?
eating them, it's definitely like a I don't know how much Lyra aims to spice up her food, but this is like boiled vegetables. That's it.
It's sustenance.
It is.
She'll eat it.
And as you take sips, you get the feeling that the stuff in the glass, the amber liquid, is some kind of like alcohol. It's very light on alcohol, but tastes a little bit of apples.
Mm.
Lilith wants to put most of hers aside, like kind of eat a little bit, and not really even attempt to taste it, but make a note and say, "There's a fisherman named Henry that's really sweet. He's usually on a bridge, and I after thinking about it, I think he deserves my meal more than I do. I've had crackers and cheese already, and this should go to him. Can you send somebody and take this to him?"
Of course.
Thank you.
He kind of eyes you for a moment and then goes back. Is everyone else enjoying your meal?
Yes.
So, let's talk about our dilemma. You have been brought here. My guess is probably by not your own planning. I'm assuming you'd like to leave. I would
Yes.
like the port through the mist to reopen so that we can once again have access to what limited food we had access to before. I did hear that a certain group of strangers had passed through the orchards up by the university, causing some of them to bear fruit quicker than expected, and for that I thank you. But unless you're planning to stay here, I don't think such methods are going to last us long. So why don't we find out how to get you home?
That
That would
sounds
be
wonderful.
Yeah, that would
Except-
be great.
Yeah. Except Lilith is thinking that, like, this also seems a little shady because obviously things are happening in this town that suck, and they clearly need help. So why would this guy be so happy to help us to get out of there? Of course, Lilith wants to leave, but we should think about it.
Okay. What's Dizzy doing?
I'm gonna ask about I guess, the fish problem, and I'll say that I kind of want to try to solve that before we leave, at least.
Well, that's very kind of you. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what anyone could do about the randomness. Hello, Marshmallow. Right? I don't know what anyone could do about the randomness of how the fish appear in the river. My hope is that once the ports are reopened, that such issues will no longer be a problem. I feel like the ports closing and the appearance of the jackal wares is too close together to be coincidence.
That's fair.
He takes another few bites. Twiggy, what are you thinking?
Well, Twiggy is eating and obsessing over the ball that will definitely be happening tomorrow. Only redheads are invited. It's a redheaded ball. So bring a wig or be redheaded. That is the way.
Okay. Lilith is doing that. Lyra, what are you doing?
Lyra's eating her sad vegetables, but again, their sustenance. She getting home would be great. However, aren't there larger problems at hand here? She kind of voices what Lilith is thinking a little bit,
Okay.
We seem to be the least of your problems.
He kind of takes you all in a glance. Are you persuading, deceiving, intimidating?
Kind of none of the. I guess if I had to pick one, persuading, right?
Okay.
She's just kind of a little factual about it. She's
Yeah.
we're least of your problems right now. Don't you want help?
Go ahead and roll a persuasion for me.
Okay. Ouch.
Okay. So yeah, he kind of eyes you all and takes in what Lyra has said. I just thought that being outsiders such as yourself and as uncomfortable as you obviously are here, is that you would want to head out as soon as possible. And obviously our goals are aligned, that if we can stop the jackal wares, we can ideally find out why the ports have closed and therefore solve what are technically 3 problems at once.
This makes sense in Lilith's head, but can she have an insight maybe?
Sure.
Or
Yeah, go ahead and roll an insight.
just to see how much she believes. All of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so does Lilith have any kind of instinctual worry about this guy, or
I mean, I think at this point Lilith doesn't exactly trust everybody.
okay.
Because we've got shifters, we've got people telling us one thing or another.
Right.
People are out to get us. I feel or Lilith feels more comfortable with her companions than any of these people.
Okay. Then what he's saying doesn't really make you feel better, but you don't necessarily disbelieve what he's saying.
Okay.
All right.
Fair.
So what do you all think?
I mean, if we can kill 3 birds with 1 stone, sure, but Lyra doesn't want to be shoved out because, you know, he wants them out of there.
Right.
So,
I
but
feel
yeah,
like,
Any leads?
well,
Or...
like it's a drain on their resources to have us there to be fed. I think we should do like a common good situation and try and see if Twiggy, if you can bring one of the gardens back to life. And I'll see if I can possibly help too after a night's sleep and maybe, you know, cooking up some spells of some sort. See if we can't help the people out just a little bit. Maybe they'll be a little more helpful to us.
I mean, like my very extremely powerful, like deity level magic, only works in supplement with the sun. So like, it only is going to go so far for so long. But about this other port place where the other people are, right? There's another place. Who are those people? Are those Jackawell people as well? Do they deal with that problem? What kind of problems do they have over there? Is that where that lady is from? From the the one with the stick or the sword? There was a thing, and she's like, it's something about there's Dr. Light, Mr. Light, Mr. Witch. That was how he got here into a house. Is that over there? Is that in the port?
Like he keeps opening his mouth to answer you, and then you say something else, and he's no. Okay. So there are other realms beyond this, which the port allows us to reach by ship, and so we have trade agreements with them.
Realms as in landmass countries, or realms as in realms with like a capital R, like where like the ultimate realm, like the Feywild, which is like the primal, like super amazing realm #1, and then all the other one, smaller capital R.
There are other lands that are beyond our borders.
So we're on an island here. This is an island.
Correct.
What kind of people are on these small R?
Many kinds. I feel like if you met any of the sailors, they probably didn't have nearly the reaction to you that the general townfolk here have, because they've probably seen quite the collection of various people.
Would anyone from the other realm have vested interest in closing the port?
Oh, that is a good question. I haven't thought about that. I will have to have a discussion with the Magistrate of Trade and see if they have had any issues with anyone recently.
Maybe a contract was inviolated, or terms weren't met.
Could be.
Usually what happens, break a contract, you forget subclause B, forget subclause B, they never read subclause B.
That would definitely be a very strong breach of responsibility, since having the ports open does feed our town. And there are, I wouldn't call them laws, but there are definitely guidelines that are set out as far as manners in which to make sure that the ports will remain open. I will have a chat with the magistrate in the morning. And
well, I mean, I just bring it up because like if you're talking about like contract law and things, kind of being obligations and fulfilling obligations, not that my own like personal opinions about like the way that aside, which you have all totally failed except for you, thank you, You've saved the town. The thing is missing, which is a breach of contract. So, like, that's kind of a big one. So maybe there's other breaches that we're not thinking about.
Anyone have anything to say
very
to that?
smart.
Yeah, so there's like kind of a silence around the table as everyone kind of like takes in Twiggy's surprising feedback. Like that was
I mean,
that was pretty useful.
Bold of you to assume that Lyra listens to, like, Lyra has learned how to, like, tune Twiggy out, unless it's, yeah, like a little, like, dimmer. But, like, when she, like, does, like, hear that it sounds, like, kind of useful, she, like, perks back up and she goes, huh. It's not just some rambling this time.
Well, I mean, it started.
What day is it? Why? I want to put this on the calendar.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were serious. I was like, it's Wednesday, Jeremy.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, because, like, we came here because somebody else's breach of contract, I think is what was going on. That's what she said. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. I was talking to the guy about the finger. And then, anyway, I think it's a breach of contract at the very beginning. And it seems to be like a series of breaches of contracts that have been kind of undergoing. So, like, it's probably what this is, really, at the end of the day.
I will make some inquiries. Thank you for your insight.
I'm very smart.
I hate to leave you all, but your friend has given me new avenues that I feel should be investigated as soon as possible. Unless you have anything else, I'm going to excuse myself from dinner. Please feel free to finish off my plate. And he looks at Twiggy as he says so. If you have any questions, just have Frederic let me know.
Thank you.
He nods and heads out the door that you came in.
Okay.
Frederic steps towards the table. Does anyone need anything else? Refills? Ma'am, your dinner will be boxed up and sent down. We have a runner prepared. Is anyone interested in some custard for dessert?
Yes.
We were able to find a little bit of spice to put on it. Some cinnamon. Ding ding. He rings a bell and they bring in some custard. Is there anything else you want to do at dinner?
No.
Not that I can think of.
I don't think so.
And then your plan for this evening is to rest and then see what the magistrate has learned in the morning?
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay. All right, so everyone eats the... Well, actually, I shouldn't assume. Does everyone eat their custard?
Yes.
No, I want mine sent to the child.
Okay.
Okay. Lyra will eat her custard. She's not as selfless as Lilith.
Okay, and Dizzy?
Yep.
Okay, so everyone that is eating their custard eats it. It's actually pretty good. There's maybe a slight... depends on if you like sweet or not sweet. It tends to fall a little bit on the not sweet side, and maybe a little less sugar in it. But everyone finishes it up. A person comes in and boxes up Lilith's dinner and takes it away. And as you all head up for the evening and get into bed and close, are you closing the blinds or are you leaving them open?
Mm-hmm.
Closing the blinds.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you close the curtains. And Twiggy, you actually notice that they have fixed your window. There's it looks like the pane has been there for the entire time. They just somehow fixed it.
Magic, obviously.
And
I mean, everything's fixed with magic.
as you all drift off into sleep, Lyra, make me a charisma saving throw.
Perfect. She does have
Thank you.
advantage against being charmed, but I don't think that's what this is.
It is
so.
not a charm. Yeah.
Oh, great. Great.
Excellent.
Can we lock our doors?
Right.
Furniture up against.
So, debating if I want to. Yeah. So Lilith, you're not sure what time it is when you're woken up to something clunking in the room with you. Like, sounds like something like hit the floor, and it wakes you up, and you're like, not quite immediately defensive, but then like your mind kind of focuses back on where you are. You're not at home, what's going on, and so you look around the room. There's a little bit of light kind of spilling along the walls from outside. The gaslit lamps that are outside are, reflecting on the other side of the curtains, kind of. So you have like these kind of beams of light that are going off in the room, and as you look, something is on the other side of the room from you. Something that's large, and as it steps, you can hear it like it's kind of like a hard hoof beat against the wood. What do you do?
Twilight Sanctuary immediately.
Okay. As the purple light floods the room, you see this creature standing over Lyra's bed. It has this rack of horns coming out of its head and these wide black eyes. Some foam has built up around its mouth.
Oh,
and it's clutching a dagger in one hand and looking wildly around. It's wearing like shreds of clothing, and its hoofs like strike the wood as it takes a couple more steps towards you. And that's where we'll end this week.
That goddamn elk. That goddamn elk. She knew it would come back to haunt her.
All right. Any questions?
Sure.
No questions.
All right. Well, if you're watching live, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you'll join us next week, Wednesdays at 2:30 p.m. here on Twitch. Otherwise, we put up our videos on YouTube, ideally on Saturday or Sunday after the show. You can check them out there. We will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good week. Bye, everyone.
Yes.